The views and opinions expressed by this program's hosts, guests, listeners, and viewers are solely the views and opinions of the original source who expresses them. They do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of TV5 Network Incorporated, its subsidiaries and affiliates, and their respective stockholders, directors, officers, and employees.
Sounding off from Los Angeles, the undisputed king of podcasting, who's all about the good times, Mo Twister. Representing New York City, a social media monster and co-creator of the Not Bill Walton Twitter feed, Chris Savage. All the way from Sydney, Australia, a basketball media veteran and unapologetic cultural critic, Bradford Graham. Holding it down from Manila, a seasoned sportscaster with the studio skills to pay the bills, Gino Rufino. This is Full Court Report.
All right, welcome to the Full Court Report. It is minutes after the end of game number 6 of the NBA Finals, and we live to see another day, both for the Finals and our show, which is always great news. Welcome to the Full Court Report. We're 4 guys, well, in 3 different cities. My name is Mo. I am in Las Vegas. On my left, in studio with me, which is such a cool treat, Chris Savage. We have Bradford Graham in Sydney, Australia, and of course in studio, Metro Manila, Philippines, is Gino Rufino. Fellas, what a game. What a game. Not a close game, but what a huge game.
Eventful.
And tons of storylines here in this one. So there's a ton of material to talk about. Chris, my guest here now in studio, you go first. 12 minutes. What do you want to do with it?
The 2 sweetest words in sports. Game 7. Bring it on. Now, the Cavs win Game 6 tonight, of course. Wire to wire, 115 to 101. To me, it was one of the more eventful finals games in a long time. LeBron had one of the best performances in the finals, and maybe in finals history. Well, certainly in finals history. 41 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 blocks. He scored 18 straight points for the Cavs at one point. 5th player in finals history to score back-to-back 40-point games. On the flip side, we saw the unanimous MVP lose his cool, have a meltdown, fouled out, threw his mouthpiece across the way towards the referee, hit a fan. Not cool. And to add insult to injury, his wife tweeted some things that were not so flattering after the game. We'll get into that a little bit later. But there's a lot to discuss, boys. Let's get into it. What do you got?
Wow. Yeah, huge performance. I mean, what is it? Back-to-back 40-point nights from LeBron. There were large stretches of this game, Chris, where I thought the Cavs were really struggling on offense, over-dribbling, playing a little bit too sort of one-on-one. And, maybe got a little help from Iguodala's back injury here, helped sort of LeBron sort of get some rhythm. But, credit should go to LeBron and sort of the commanding performance, I guess, he displayed. But again, even when Cleveland were up 20, I never thought the Warriors were out of this. And maybe it wasn't until Curry got himself sort of thrown out of the game. And you can argue the validity of a lot of those sort of foul calls, I think both on Curry and then sort of throughout this contest. I thought the refereeing sort of played a bigger part in this one than it should have. But yeah, I guess, the stat line is in LeBron's favor. I don't like all of the shots the Cavs have been taking to force this Game 7, but when you win, you win. It doesn't matter how ugly or pretty it is. So Cleveland's series deciding anything goes in this Game 7 now. But yeah, I'm still trying to digest this one and still trying to figure out whether I liked what the Cavs did or whether I think that they should be really scared of the Warriors that they're going to show up in Game 7.
Well, Brad, you brought up the fact that some of the foul calls and it played much more bigger of a factor, but the Warriors got jumped early on. Yep. They scored shot 30% in the first half.
But bad calls can really kind of deflate your balloon there. Especially if you're trying to make a comeback from a deficit of 20 points. It was an ugly refereed game. I'm pretty upset about it. Not as upset as Steph Curry is, where I'm
or Ayesha Curry.
At halftime, did you drive to the store and buy a mouth guard so you could throw it at the TV in the fourth quarter? I mean,
if I knew that Steph was going to go with the move like that because it was so unlike Steph,
right.
Especially if
or
you
was
read
it
his
the real
lips, It's
Steph?
just this is
Was it
bullshit.
the real
This is
Steph?
bullshit.
That's what I want to know.
I doubt it. I mean, because there are other things that have happened in his career that he would have easily flipped it. It is the finals. It's Game 6. I mean, they've looked bad in these past couple games, so the frustration is there. Again, the profanity was there from Steph, which you rarely ever see. It's not like he had a really awful game, but the refereeing
he
was
was
bad.
shooting lights out for a while there. I thought he
He
was going to
was
bring them all the
actually
way
having
back.
a pretty
I
good
mean,
game.
Yeah, I mean, they were down 20. He brought them back to within 7. And then Klay Thompson went on that sort of one-man 10-0 run. And I thought, here come, the Warriors are going to basically start to roll here. And Cleveland needed to be really careful because they weren't taking care of the end of quarters like we know that they never seem to be able to do. Cleveland is the most undisciplined team I can remember seeing in the finals. It is embarrassing seeing the shots they put up sometimes and just seeing how much they're out for self. And I know I just sort of shake my head sometimes at how they get away with this. I mean,
They get away with
get
it
away with-
because they have the most talented man on the planet
Yeah,
at this
they have-
point, and he's playing like it.
They have
But
the most
again-
important player to his team in LeBron James.
Sure,
He is
sure.
the most important.
No, and again,
Guys,
that's
I'm
why I
not
said at
sure.
the
Again,
beginning,
listen,
credit goes to
I give LeBron a hard time, but tonight he was spectacular. But come on, guys, when they lose and he brings it, you guys are like, oh, well, he needs some help. And then when they win and he brings it, oh, he's the most important. I mean, come on, let's get real here. Tristan Thompson and the contributions that he's been giving in these wins are massive. Now, he's not putting on the sexy numbers. He's not the leader. He's not the A-lister of this team. But without Tristan Thompson and the ability that he's been able to do on the glass, 6 for 6 for tonight, another double-double for Tristan Thompson. Cleveland is not in this position without guys like that. Yes, LeBron, King, whatever. The role players, as we've said when Oklahoma City was beating Golden State, when the role players are playing well, Golden State can be beaten and beaten bad. And that's what happens here when Kyrie's playing his game, but when Tristan Thompson steps up as well and gives that double-double.
No, you're a big stat guy, and LeBron James is leading the series in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Yes, Tristan Thompson, nice little contribution. We're talking
That's
about
not a nice
guy.
little contribution. You saw how many alley-oop dunks, how he energized
Who
his
was giving
team.
him those alley-oop
It
dunks,
doesn't
though?
matter.
LeBron James.
Dude,
Facilitating.
Yeah.
I didn't say
Drawing people
LeBron.
towards
I
him.
didn't say LeBron wasn't to be heralded. I said he was marvelous tonight, and I give him a ton of credit. But to translate into wins, you cannot just get it from LeBron.
Well,
we
for
can't
sure,
just
of
sit
course,
here.
of
We
course
can't
you
just sit
need.
here in the wins and go, "Oh, LeBron's fucking amazing," and then in the losses where he's playing well, go, "Well, LeBron really needs some help."
Well,
I
but
mean,
it's
Jesus Christ,
but
guys.
it's true because he got some help tonight, so that his team won. I mean, he got the help that he needed from Tristan Thompson.
Here's what I'll say. Coming back to the refereeing thing and coming back to the support LeBron received on tonight's performance. Kevin Love, 2 fouls in the first minute of the game, had to sit. And I think what happens when Kevin Love's not out there and Jefferson checks in early, I think that's when guys like Tristan Thompson, and maybe because LeBron gets in his ear and, he's one of his boys, he actually steps up his play. I think Thompson's much more effective when they go small and he's the lone big man out there because, again, he likes now stepping out and in his head, he's got all this confidence. He's now guarding Tristan
Or perhaps,
guarding
as we
Klay
saw with
Thompson and
Tristan
guys.
Thompson last year, and this is why he's got the $80+ million contract, is because in big games, the guy steps up.
Right, but
that's
he's doing so in a vacuum. He's doing so because what's happening here is, and this, the 15 of 15 tonight, credit to him. He's putting himself in positions to become effective, but he's not always doing that. His head's not always there. And what was sort of troubling for me, just looking at this sort of, as the game was unfolding, was he was celebrating just plays in the third quarter like it was the championship. And I worry that this Cleveland team sometimes gets ahead of themselves. That's where I worry that he gets maybe a little bit too energized on just an alley-oop, and I guess it's healthy for the crowd to push it to Game 7, but I want to see him engaged for longer stretches rather than just doing it in sort of little spurts because, what the Cavs have to be careful of is when you do take 2 minutes off or when you do have a couple of turnovers or when you do rely too heavily on LeBron, that's when they get themselves into trouble. Luckily tonight, LeBron was able to get them out of the hole that they looked like they were going to fall into, but that's not always going to be the case, especially, going back into sort of Golden State.
I think the worry going into Game 7 for Cleveland, and I said this about Game 6, and I was wrong. Even though I said that this was going to go 7, I was wrong. I thought Golden State was going to come in extra nasty tonight, extra angry because Draymond Green missed Game 5. But now again, I'm going to take that same mindset and go into Game 7. It's not about the celebration of Tristan Thompson or any other players, even the little trash talking that LeBron was doing after the block on Steph. It's the fact that Steph got knocked out because of bad officiating. Now they go back to Golden State in a Game 7, and I think Steph goes pyro there and just absolutely lights it up.
Before you put all of that on the officials, Steph was putting himself in some of those positions. Now, I'm not saying he should have picked up 6.
But that's why there's 6 fouls. You can put yourself in position for 1, 2, or 3, but the remaining 3 were hideous.
No, absolutely. So what I'm saying is Steph hurt himself by sort of picking up some cheap ones when he shouldn't have. Like, Steph's usually smarter than what he showed us tonight. Like, he made the threes and he was being effective. I think he's been frustrated over the whole series, the way they've been playing him. And I've been watching the way this sort of officiating has evolved this series. And it's been sort of strange how I've seen more jerseys being grabbed and more hands on guys away from the hoop. I've seen more moving screens than I've ever seen before in my life. And yet they go ahead and they call some sort of niggly little reach. And I find it odd that the refereeing.
We saw it in past games and we talked about it on the show, how Steph has been bullied when he doesn't have the ball. He's getting elbowed, he's getting bullied, he's getting pushed around, and then all of a sudden, he blows a little bit of air on someone's armpit, and all of a sudden it's a foul. So of course he's going to get frustrated.
It's almost like the referees were trying to let these guys play for most of this series, for most of the NBA Finals, and then all of us, and they can't seem to react in the sense that, okay, wait a minute, we're letting them play a little bit too much, we're letting them get away with a little bit too many holes, and then they're quick to blow in their whistle on some calls, and it's really bizarre how the refereeing has controlled this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, but do you feel that it's been consistent up until today? I feel that they let a lot of things go, and that's been consistent for the most part.
Yeah, it's been consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, okay, but Chris, I think wildly so. I mean, like you see all the sort of fouls called early on, whether they're soft fouls or not, just calling star players early on in the game forces both coaches to adjust and the players on the court to adjust. So, if the Warriors had been able to make more of their shots, and they got some good open looks, and they did sort of rally back and sort of made it sort of at least a competition, they have to just make more of their shots and not sort of rely so heavily, get more into the passing, play more what we come to understand as being Warrior ball. And I think because the Warriors have gone away from that, partially because of all the bumping and grinding that's going on, Steph's growing increasingly frustrated. But the refs, I think, should also tell him, and I think the refs in some ways owe this to him, talk to him and say to him, look, we know you're getting pulled and grabbed. When we see it, we will call it. When we don't see it, we can't call it. And I think it's a case of, it seems to be sort of, I don't know, the referees stand back from these players, and at least in Game 6 anyway, from what I saw, and they're like, nah, no call there, no call there, yep, call there. And the player's like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do here? How can I adjust if I'm not being talked through this? Because things happen so fast, and in the heat of the moment, it's so hard to tell what is and what isn't, and not everyone has the luxury of the instant replay like we do watching it from home.
Well, Brad, I think he might have lost that right now after what he did tonight. Maybe the civil discussion.
Them's fighting words.
Yeah, well, no, the civil discussion might be over now between he and the refs or what he did today. Who knows? I hope they can have that conversation. I hope it's officiated well for Game 7. I hope it's not a roll and the best team wins.
Right. Adam Silver was there, and he's been very sort of, protective of his referees and the way that the officiating's unfolded. But this has been one of the rare finals where I've actually felt the refereeing is having a bigger impact than as a fan I would like it to have. So hopefully, Game 7 is decided by the players. But I remember Celtics-Lakers, going back a few years, the referees got a little too whistle happy then as well. So, or the reverse happened and they didn't call anything. So, anyways, we'll wait and see.
Every game has been a double-digit win, so I know the refs have played a factor.
So strange. So strange.
Every game has been a double-digit win. It's the teams are deciding it. They really are.
Maybe hard to decide it though when your best player's not on the floor.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Well, I think time's just about done here in the first quarter. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will talk again so much more about what, all these other angles of Game 6 of the NBA Finals. You listen to the Full Court Report. Don't go away. See you in a bit.
He has made viewers laugh with his funny antics and awesome style in comedy. He has also been in quite a few headlines himself. Well, funny man Arnel Ignacio loves good times too. Curious if he has funny secrets he'd like to spill? Then head on to www.tv5.com.ph/originals and watch Good Times with Mo. Thursday, 9 p.m. on Digital 5. Call us on our hotline, also on Viber and Skype.
Welcome back to the Full Court Report, and we are going to quarter number 2 right now. We'll head over to Metro Manila, Philippines, and have Gino Rufino take charge of this one. Gino, 12 minutes, all you, man.
Guys, a lot of people have been saying that. What's the big deal? If Andrew Bogut's not going to play, he barely plays. He barely contributes in the stat sheet. But I really do feel that Bogut's absence played a big factor. It messed with the Warriors rotation. It did. Curry and Thompson didn't have their big bodyguard to give them illegal picks. In this game, and they really missed that big guy down there. And plus the Cavs got layup after layup after layup. You have J.R. Smith throwing no look alley-oop passes to LeBron James. I really do believe Andrew Bogut missing the rest of the finals is going to be a bigger than people expect.
This is what we saw in the last game where they had, what was it again, the NBA Finals record for unassisted field goals in a game. Yeah. And again, tonight we saw it evident, partly because Andy Bogut was gone in Game 5, partly because Draymond Green was suspended. In this game, Andre Iguodala clearly not feeling very well at all with the back problems. Walking gingerly around, and he's their best defender. Well, who's one of the best defenders behind Draymond Green, and of course Andy Bogut being gone again. Same, attacking the basket, shooting over 50% from the field as Cleveland did tonight, and being able to pull away as they did again in the last game.
And of course,
it's almost the same.
It basically put also Tristan Thompson, who had 9 rebounds in the first quarter. He went to work because he didn't have a big body to box out. Bogut's absence, plus the fact that Draymond Green wasn't exactly. He wasn't exactly as impactful, I guess, as he
took 7
he
shots to the game, Gino. That's not usually what we see from Draymond Green. Only 6 assists as well. So 8 points from Draymond in 41 minutes isn't what we usually expect from him. But again, I think you hit the nail on the head here, Gino. I think Bogut being out of their lineup, that first 6 minutes, when they established the tone, the Warriors were small from the start, and they got punished for it. Harrison Barnes. Awful night, 0 from 8 in 16 minutes. And then Draymond 14
Green in the last game as well. So he's been
terrible back-to-back games.
Max contract, sure.
Sure, but the difference tonight was, at least in Game 6, from the way I saw it, was they didn't have the other players to cover for Barnes' deficiencies. That being Bogut or the rotations or the minutes. So when Barnes wasn't hitting, or when Draymond Green, early on wasn't being effective, they looked down the bench and they've already got their key bench guy, Iguodala, already out there, and then he was overextending himself, playing too many minutes. And again, Iguodala, 5 shots in 30 minutes. I know the bulk of his work comes from having to guard LeBron, and he's been pretty effective despite the fact that LeBron's had back-to-back 40-point games. I think he's forced LeBron to sort of shoot some tough shots, and LeBron's getting most of the damage done when he's getting sort of the switches on the pick and rolls. But to sort of see, no Bogut out there meant no early rim protection, and then I think the Warriors, you're right, just sort of never sort of found their groove, and they were down, 20 after one quarter? 11, not that, look, Bogut wasn't going to change the 11 points that they scored in the opening quarter. Horrible offensive show from the Warriors to start the game. And Draymond Green promised a better performance. Guess, those were just words, no action. But Bogut definitely, I think, would have had some impact in this contest, however minimal, or at least he would have been able to sort of be out there, given what we've seen from him in the past, and at least would have been able to be injected at certain points during the game to sort of neutralize Thompson on the glass or stop those alley-oops. Because, once Draymond was left alone under the hoop, Draymond's not as athletic as Tristan Thompson. He's not as long as him. So, there's just no way you can block those alley-oops. But with Bogut out there, they can't throw those. And so that's where the crowd was getting into it. And again, it would have been nice to have seen some sort of, more back and forth between these guys. Yeah. But I don't know. Kerr maybe could have put Varejao in there earlier.
Without Bogut there, it puts extra stress on Draymond Green to get those rebounds, and as we've seen
but it's the lone rebounder mode,
right? Exactly. And when he gets out rebounded Draymond, again, he becomes less effective also on the offensive end. We've seen that consistent in all the Golden State losses here in the playoffs. If you take the three guys on the starting front court of Golden State, the 3 of them, got 16 rebounds. Tristan Thompson did that by himself. So when Draymond Green can't rebound the ball or can't get any help to grab those rebounds, I really do believe it's connected to a lapse in his offensive game. His offensive numbers are in fact higher when he's rebounding the ball well, but that has to happen by having another big guy
and
there,
it's off the
like an
truth,
Andy Bogut.
Because Draymond grabs the board and he's a one-man fast break, like Charles Barkley was back in the day. This guy can get the ball and push it himself. He doesn't need a point guard. He can effectively, fill that role. So Draymond But again, like we know this guy's a competitor, so to sort of, Draymond taking himself out of the game from not rebounding, I don't think it's that necessarily. I think it's more it's deflating to see Cleveland get so many easy points inside, which is kind of where he sort of is like, hang on, guys, you got to help me, you got to help me. But, that's also not on Draymond alone, because if Draymond's there to cover for other guys' mistakes, that's when it can get frustrating because, it does take the five of them playing cohesive defense, which is kind of, again, like Cleveland's being undone defensively. The Warriors are being undone defensively in a way that I don't think we've seen them. Not even in the Oklahoma City series were they sort of embarrassed in these exact ways. So maybe it just comes back to LeBron and the way he's able to sort of control things and forces, eyes and things to sort of lock on him. But I don't know. I don't know. Really, like I said, where do we start with this?
As good as that small ball lineup is for the Warriors, I think if you start with that lineup, it really puts too much pressure on them. I mean, it's almost like you can't. You're just starting the game and you're gonna try and dictate the tempo. And you don't have you're so undersized in the front court against the bigs of Cleveland. I mean,
Here's something, Gino, though. Do you think we should be giving more credit to the Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith defensive effort? Or is it just the case of the Splash Brothers not basically hitting the shots that we know they're capable of making? Because everyone, watching the Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy sort of Mike Breen commentary on ESPN, it seems like they're like, all the love should go to sort of, Irving and Smith for the defensive effort. But time and time again, I see them make really, really bad decisions on defense. And I think these guys look horrible at times. And it's not like they're being, lockdown defenders. I think Clay's doing an incredible job on defense. So what have you guys seen from the backcourt of Cleveland defensively? Should they be getting more love, or
They should not be getting the love that they're getting. It's the Splash Brothers not making shots.
Yeah.
They're taking the same shots that they've taken all season long. They're just not falling in big situations. I give the Cleveland backcourt defense little credit. They're not great defenders. Let's
Chris,
put it that
I'm
way.
glad I'm not the only one, man, because I was sitting here watching the whole game thinking, these guys look awful. It's the finals. It's like it's the first time they've played defense. They just seem to run around or reach in or sort of, balk at pump fakes.
It was the first time they played defense.
But they've actually played somewhat better defense than I thought they would, though. I thought they would just be like, ole, letting people just get to the basket.
Zero defense to half defense.
So I mean, they're trying something at least, right? So, but they've been a little bit better than I thought they would be, but it's still clearly both of the Splash Brothers not hitting everything that they normally hit on a consistent basis. But you expect this in a series, in a 7-game series, whether it's the finals or the first round of the playoffs, that you're going to miss some shots throughout the playoffs. And it just so happens that we've seen maybe a little bit more of it from the Splash Brothers in the finals than we have in the past couple of
But what's
rounds.
that interesting, Gino, that Klay Thompson and his inability to score really affected this game. I mean, he was, 9 from 21, 3 of 10 from downtown. Like, it seems like his inability to get going is what's prevented basically this Warriors team from being in the contest. And it seems odd to me in these finals anyway, maybe because of his size and his, ability to sort of finish and shoot the three, that he's become their single most important offensive player. If Clay's going, it seems like the Warriors go with him. Is that an accurate assessment?
They've been starting slow. I think that's the problem with the Warriors. Again, we see this every now and then during the regular season, but we're seeing it more consistently here in the playoffs, that they get down early.
But it's the wrong time for us to be
Of course it's a wrong time. Well, that's why we're at a Game 7 when some of you guys were saying this would be done in 5. It's because it takes a long time for them to get kind of rolling. And by the time they get rolling, they have the capability of being down 20 and then getting down to single digits. But the problem is getting it down to single digits takes time. Yeah. And before you know it, it's halftime. And then guess what? They hit the reset button. They come out in the third, and then they're taking, again, quite some time to get warmed up, and it's killing them here.
I thought they fought better this time. We've seen them fall behind big time and just give up the fight and worry about next game. I thought they fought better this time. It just they had a lot to overcome. They had a big lead to overcome, and you guys brought it up. The refs.
Chris, look, Steve Kerr took the starters out with 3 minutes to go. I thought to myself, this is the finals. 3 minutes is an eternity in Warriors basketball time
you can
with your ability to shoot threes.
But that's because Steph got ejected with 4:22 left, though, in the fourth. No, I'm just listen. If we're throwing out a rationale, I agree with you guys. But if we're throwing out a mindset on why Steph Curry may have done it, I think it's because you just lost your best player. 4.5 minutes left into the game. You're down by not just a small amount of your double digits and high double digits. Let's regroup. Let's just go ahead and have our starters be frustrated and get to Game 7 and go nuts.
But so you think that he wanted, like Kerr wanted them to be angry for Game number 7?
I think so, and I again, that's the mindset I thought they were going to come into Game 6. Now, clearly, they didn't look it. I mean, Cleveland was awesome tonight.
Klay Thompson said after the game that he wished Game 7 was tomorrow.
Right, and he says this is going to be a great day in our careers. I think they're super confident going into San Francisco, and again, very much angry. Steph especially.
The Cavs are very confident going into San Francisco as well after tonight. They should. They have every right to be.
Yeah, but a team going in happy, and this might be a different, quarter. You might take up a couple of minutes, but a team going happy into Game 7 versus a team going in angry. Which one do you think is going to be performing better?
Teams that traditionally lose a Game 6 like this after being up 3-2 do not rebound in Game 7. History has proven that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen this time.
You've oversimplified it. I don't think it's a strict emotional take from both sides. I think what it is that now there is a little bit of doubt creeping into Golden State, and they need to get off to a super hot start in Game 7 in order for them to sort of, they played the regular season to have home court. They've now got. I don't think
I've simplified it.
They go in favorites. They go in favorites.
Yeah, clearly because they're home. They're home team. But I think
I think they've got too much experience to go in angry. I think an angry team is an inexperienced team. I think Golden State will be composed. I think Klay and Steph will know what's on the line, and I think they'll go out there and they'll execute their game plan, and they know what Cleveland's weaknesses are, and they'll look to exploit them early.
Yeah, Mo, my issue is why didn't they come in today like that? If they're going to come in angry, they should have, and they're going to do the same thing.
They're not an emotional team, Mo. They're not an emotional team, and when they are emotional, let Draymond be emotional. When Steph gets emotional, look what happens. The first time ever, we see him throwing his mouth guard and costing himself, key minutes in the fourth quarter. So,
that's a good point.
Right, when Klay gets emotional,
we see Steph and Klay. No, but when we see them positively emotional, like when they actually things are going good, they're very much emotional. They're very much. They actually rub people the wrong way.
They're an optimistic team. Which is why I don't think they'll ever be angry.
Yeah. Remember when Steph got ejected today? If you saw when he was walking back into the locker room, he was smiling. So when I'm saying the emotional part, it's not always meant to be a negative thing. It's I'm frustrated that we're here. I'm frustrated we got screwed over these past couple games. We're going to go in there. We're going to kick some ass.
And he's smiling right now.
And we're going to kick. We were looking at him in post conference right now, smiling as he is. Yep. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got the halftime.
A Sports5.ph original web show.
My name is Dominic Uy, and this is my buddy Kevin Limhoco.
We are going to be testing products to their nth degree, to their limits.
Cars.
How many car makers are not equipped with power steering?
Gadgets.
You feel the value of that watch.
And everything in between.
I don't like to pamper myself except in a restaurant.
This is the web show for the modern man.
Oh, let's go!
Nth degree. Catch it exclusively on Sports5.ph.
Welcome back to the Full Court Report. It's halftime. We usually, go away from basketball, but this one is inspired by Game 6 of the Finals when we saw Steph Curry completely lose his mind and throw his mouthpiece, and it hit somebody. It hit a fan. But we'll discuss again maybe the punishment for that a little bit later in the show.
Didn't he just auction off a mouthpiece? Maybe the guy should have grabbed it and sold it. It could be worth something. No,
absolutely. For sure. This is if we're going to put an amount to that mouthpiece, I would say it'd be in the double-digit thousands, right?
I agree with that.
Tens of thousands,
3,500 maybe.
This is a historical mouthpiece in the finals, man, to be thrown. Especially
Game
if they lose. Game 7.
If they lose,
that doubles the value.
What if he gets suspended? If he gets suspended, that's a $100,000 mouthpiece.
Wow.
And coming from a Cavs fan, too? Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Anyway, let's get to it. Here we go. We're going to be talking about the time you publicly lost your mind, a la Steph Curry did earlier today in front of the rest of the world. Let's go ahead and let me pick on who's the most volatile of you guys. Oh, Chris.
Sure. So, despite what you think of me now, when I was about a younger man 10, 15 years ago, I was a lot angrier. I would get into a lot of explosions, a lot of fights, a lot of road rage. That would happen a lot. But
not surprised one bit.
No, my story isn't a road rage situation, which I can point to like 7 or 8 situations in the last 20 years. It's being out at a bar one night and a gentleman. I'll call him a gentleman because water under the bridge. He disrespected the girl that I was with, and he kept on prodding and prodding and prodding, using the wrong terms, and eventually
choice language.
Yeah, choice language. Eventually called her a whore. And
okay.
I lost it. I saw red and black, flipped over the table, jumped on top of him, and instead of beating him in the face with my fists and elbows, I went to try to bite him in the ear. I tried to bite.
You did it to Iron Mike.
Yeah, I tried to do the Iron Mike and tried to bite his ear off, and I wanted to go for the nose too. That's how out of it I was, seeing red and black. And it took about.
You
I'm
went
not that
into
big of a guy.
Did you get jail time for that?
No. Luckily, I knew the bouncer at the bar, and it took about 4 guys way bigger than me to pull me off. I just had that. What do they call that? That
blackout.
Well, the strength where a woman's baby is under a car and she could lift up the whole car.
Yeah,
I had that type
superhuman,
of superhuman strength that day, and I went for the ear. I went for the Iron Mike, and thank God people did pull me off. But that was when I was probably 25, 26 years old.
What a good guy you
by
are.
By pure coincidence, Chris, I have my hood on for this episode, and it's just
Good
coincidence that I'm covering
Watch
my
out.
ears. But now I'm going to cover my ears all the time around you.
Yeah, no. When somebody called my girlfriend a whore, I said, "What did you do to get him so angry?" I mean, you can't do that thing. I can't really kind of engage in a fight like that. That's good for you, man. Brad, what do you got? Publicly getting really angry.
Okay.
What's your story?
So again, I was out at a girl that I liked. It was her birthday, and I volunteered. I offered to drive the girl and her party back to the place where they were staying. In the rear vision mirror, I could see the guy in the back, sort of, the friend, some guy I'd just met that night, getting all touchy-feely with her or whatever. And so I had to sort of drive my car in a rational way all the way to this sort of residency, fuming, absolutely fuming as I looked in the rear vision mirror. Yeah, looked in the rear vision mirror, just saw this guy having his hands all over this girl, then eventually we got to the party and I was like, you know what, man, this is crap. So I get to the party, we open up the door, there's about 20 people there waiting, everyone's jumping in the jacuzzi, whatever. I was just irate because I had no idea there was the after party even going on. I didn't even think I was invited, to be honest with you, but I just, happened to sort of end up there. And I knew that there was going to be all sorts of freaky stuff going on. But at the same time, because it was this girl and I liked her and I knew it was her birthday, I had this like amazing present waiting in sort of, the trunk of my car. And then so everyone was sort of waiting for her to sort of come in. And I was like, hey, I just need to talk to you for a second. And at one point, there was about 20 people sitting there watching me talk to her. And I'm getting quite irate at her about this sort of whole evening sort of not playing out the way I envisioned. And she's standing there going like, what the hell is going on here? And eventually one of the girls from the party basically yelled something out at her like, hey, don't worry about him, come over here. And I just basically pointed my finger at this girl and said, you sit down, the adults are talking. The next person open their mouths, it's on. Everyone just went dead silent, let me finish my tirade with this girl, and then, of course, I just drove home and didn't sleep for like 2 days because I was so pissed off. But,
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you, both of you guys, Terminators. Let's go to Gino. Gino, us Filipinos, non-fighters, what did you do?
Non-fighters.
General people.
I think for something that was pretty public, it would have to do with an ex-girlfriend of mine. There was an event going on, and I was kind of hosting that event, but I had come from a very, very long day, and like I had a commercial shoot in the morning, all the way that lasted till I basically beat the call time by like maybe 10 minutes. So I was coming into the event like really stressed out, not even dressed up. And she was giving me crap about not minding her. So I'm like, yo, seriously, like back off. Like I've been having a really long day. Just don't bug me right now. And she just kept at it, and then I just lost it. And like I flipped out, and then because she's kind of like she still is kind of like a public figure. I lost it for a quick second, and I raised my voice at her, and then everybody around us just fell silent. And I guess she got really embarrassed, and she walked out, and she found her way to her place back then.
Wow,
Interesting.
If you guys do that these days, like what you guys have just pulled off, you would be like that. I mean, the evil eyes get thrown at you, right? For guys who kind of yell publicly like that.
Well, the other thing too, Mo, is no smartphone, no camera phones, no nothing.
That's
so no
right.
one could document
That's what I'm saying.
it. Man, if you could document what I did, oh man, I'd be in so much trouble. Like, yeah.
Wow.
I'm so glad
right.
technology wasn't around 10 years ago.
Me too.
Listen, we ran out of time here in the halftime show. We got to take a break already. We get our second half, but let me, I guess, quickly just say I've been in so many. To pinpoint one would be kind of odd because I've been in so many of these public spats and stuff like that. But it's fun, ain't it?
I'll take a rain check.
I know. I think we're not all like Mo Twister.
Again, Steph was smiling, man. Come on. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we got the third quarter. Don't go away.
Welcome to the initial episode of No Holds Barred with the Dean, Finito Henson. We ask the questions, you get the answers. Did you feel rough that you didn't get the Best Import award?
I won Best Import.
If you were the commissioner of the PBA for a day, what would be the first thing you'd do?
I'm not telling you nothing.
Tell us, Leland, last November, when Samboy, your husband, suffered cardiac arrest, what was your feeling? How were you able to cope? And what kind of magnitude of expenses are you facing?
It's not good.
Welcome back to the Full Court Report. It is our second half, and we are going to go to the third quarter duties that belong to Bradford Graham in Sydney, Australia. Brad, 12 minutes. Still talking about the finals, man. What's up?
We are. Thanks, Mo. Look, I want to spend a little bit of time, I guess, shining a light on the respective benches for both finals teams. I'll get to who's winning the battle of the benches in just a minute. But before I do, I just wanted to sort of bring up the note that going into this series, we thought the Warriors would have a distinct advantage with their depth, whether it was, going to be Sean Livingston and Maurice Spates coming off the bench for Golden State, or the fact that Barbosa and Verajao can sort of, undo teams in a moment's notice. But it seems like Cleveland these last two games has kind of flipped the script and their bench is sort of playing a bigger part. Partially, I guess, because Draymond suspension, Bogut injury now has forced Iguodala to come, into the starting lineup, and Harrison Barnes has been out of sorts. So what's been the take from I guess everyone else here? I mean, Livingston didn't have a great game. 1 from 6 is usually reliable. Verajao flopping all over the court, usually gets the calls, didn't get any in Cleveland for game 6. Who's winning the battle of the bench here? Is Cleveland somehow figured out a way to make their bench matter more, or does it become irrelevant because LeBron James is being LeBron James?
I think LeBron James is being LeBron James, to be honest with you. I mean, look at the bench of the Cavs in this particular game. I mean, nobody really stood out for me. I mean, except for Dante Jones, who hasn't played since.
Amazing.
I don't know. Where did that come from?
You got a Dante Jones and a James Jones sighting late in the fourth. But, But look, Dante Jones has not, he's been serviceable at times. I mean, it's not like these guys don't deserve their spot. We thought, look, last year, Dellavedova, big impact. Mozgov, obviously, had a bigger final series last year, but the game has, evolved in a different way. Channing Frye, DMP.
Zero.
Disappeared.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, despite all that, we're still seeing Shumpert and we're still seeing Jefferson come off Cleveland's bench and actually make a bit of a difference.
Shumpert is pointless. Shumpert's been pointless in the series. Pointless.
He has, but his defense been key, and his hair is actually winning him all the awards as far as I'm concerned.
That is nice. I think,
but you still think it's the bench is now irrelevant, Gino?
The bench still goes to the Warriors. It's just that the starting five. I mean, the LeBron James has just been insane. I mean, I really do think. I mean, Jefferson, you can see what he contributes, and it's more than what you see on the stat sheet. It's more than his points, and it's more than all the stuff that he does. But I just don't think that if you look at just the benches and what they bring to the table, I think the Warriors bench still outshines that of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
It does in terms of overall stats at the end of the game. But when we look at, I think, what has happened in this series, I think game 1 was the only one where we really saw the bench kind of being a real big factor. And after that, it's been all the starters for both teams. Not just, again, I'm not going to shine light on only LeBron. Let's remind ourselves, Kyrie Irving scored 41 also in the other game. Tristan Thompson is double-double machine so far. So let's go ahead and say that these games are being won by the starters. The biggest minutes, all of the shots, the big shots are all being hit by the starters, aside from game number 1. And, it's, again, on both sides, even though on paper, of course, Golden State still has the superior bench. It's not evident really in the wins.
Gino, you said as it should, but I can't think of an NBA Finals where the bench has this little of impact on either side. It is really never the case in the NBA Finals where this happens. There's always some big bench contributions.
I think the stars have to win the finals. Have to win the championships for the teams, though. I mean, you can get help. You can get help. You can get help from the bench.
The thing here is
and from the role players.
The starters, again, they log heavy minutes, but they're also not going to play all 48. So there's always going to be that little 5-minute patch where someone's going to come in and be able to swing the game. Now, I think what we're basically saying here, and to answer my own question, it seems like none of the bench players have been able to have the meaningful, lasting impacts that we may have expected. And maybe it's because the starters are just demanding the ball more, or maybe they're not looking for the bench guys, to come in and contribute. I thought Barbosa did a great job in Game 6, hitting some threes and sort of being out there and being quicker and being a little bit of disruptive force in his 19 minutes. But it's not like, last year we saw Dellavedova step up when Irving got injured and put a 20-point night. There's been nothing like it in this series. I thought Livingston might have had a couple of 20-point games in him. And for the first 3 games, it looked like Livingston might have even been finals MVP. But now that's gone away. And the longer the series has gone on, the more they're relying on the starters, where I usually think that the longer a series goes on, the more the benches play a part, because you need 1 or 2 guys to come in and have a scintillating performance to sort of steal a game or steal a quarter.
I think Gino does. I think Gino does bring up a good point regarding the stars, in that even both teams have starters that are not doing anything either. Kevin Love hasn't done anything. Harrison Barnes. I mean, when I say anything, I mean positive. They haven't done anything positive.
Right.
They've only been
they're doing a lot of
negative.
things, but
Cancellation. Just not positive.
Cancellation.
Right. So Kevin Love has been awful.
Can we double check, Mo, their bank accounts? Because I think they're getting paid off by the other team somehow.
Sure,
I think there's going to be some wild
again, something else I will bring up in the fourth quarter in terms of paying things off. But yeah, no, really, it's almost like these games are being played 4-on-4. Really, because Kevin Love has been absent, Harrison Barnes has been absent. So it's not even that the bench hasn't been contributing that much. It's that even there's even one guy in the starting 5 that hasn't done anything on both sides of this finals.
Right,
so
but Mo, doesn't that go against everything the Warriors have done all season long?
Yeah.
Isn't that why they're now in this?
Maybe that's why we're in Game 7.
Sure.
That's exactly why we're in Game 7.
How many losses already this playoffs?
8 losses now in the playoffs, 9 in the regular season.
No. Are you kidding me? Has it been 8? I haven't even been keeping track.
Yes, it's been 8. Think about it. Add it up, Brad. 3 in the last 2 series, Brad.
That's true. 3 each. That is crazy. Yeah. So 6 games in the last 6 in the last
6 in the last 13.
13.
They've lost more in the playoffs.
And 9 all year.
And 9 all year. Yeah. Amazing, right? Hey, they still win the championship. That's all that'll matter at the end, right?
What the hell has happened to Golden State?
Well, it's the NBA playoffs, and people are limping to the finish line.
I think really it says we have not seen Steph Curry in MVP form all playoff long. And of course, if that's not going to happen, they're going to mount some losses. They're still a good enough team to get up to where they are right now, which is Game 7 in the NBA Finals. But I think what should have happened in this playoffs, if Steph was the MVP and playing like it, is that it would have been sweep after sweep, and maybe it would have been a wrap.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing then. In terms of we went into this series talking head-to-head matchups, right? And we thought Cleveland only had the advantage at small forward, and LeBron in the last 2 games, back-to-back 40-point efforts, has clearly shown how much better he is than everyone else on the court right now. But we thought the other 4 matchups went in the favor of Golden State. And yet, somehow, Kyrie Irving, the guy who never played defense, out of nowhere seems to not only actually put in a little more effort than we're used to seeing from him, but is Kyrie Irving actually beating Steph Curry at his own game? Is he being the better point guard this series? Or is it unfair to sort of put them head-to-head given they don't guard each other all that much?
The fact that you have to ask the question and we have to think about it says a lot. The fact that you have to ask that and we have to think.
I think Kyrie's outplayed Steph Curry in this series, absolutely.
I mean,
but remember,
that is insane. That is insane.
It is insane, and it's a testament to how much Steph has struggled for whatever reason. And these are the reasons. Of course,
you
gotta give Kyrie some
credit.
I
mean, but of course we're giving Kyrie some credit. It's not like he's fallen off the table. He's been consistently good. Steph has fallen off the table in terms of what we're supposed to expect from him. Now, I think. Gosh, now I forgot my point was. Anyway, regardless, I think that if Steph is not going to be playing to this level, then they're still a very good team that could still win a championship.
Let's just focus on it just for one specific second, because we're not going to have much time to talk about Steph outside of the rest of the show and then the next one, because the season's then over. So what exactly do you think, as being a Warriors observer, does Steph have to do to get himself back to the MVP form? Because it's not a simple case of making threes, because he's always going to get those looks. But how does Steph actually become a bigger player in this series now with the series on the line?
Well, it's just 1 game left. He's got to be a killer. I mean, come on. He's got to be the guy.
What's the key to that? Okay, so you've watched the Warriors all year, and you've watched Steph tear the hearts out of every team in the NBA, and yet for whatever reason, Steph can't tear out Cleveland's heart. What exactly do you think Steph has to do, or what specifically do you want to see Steph do in Game 7 in order for him to sort of get back to sitting on that throne and enjoying his summer with a crown?
I think a strong first quarter from Steph is going to be key here in Game 7, especially coming off this ejection. He's got, again, go pyro in quarter number 1. Whatever feelings,
beast mode.
Yeah, whatever feelings, negative, positive, I don't care. Whatever emotions are going on there, it has to translate in production, and it has to be early. You know, I don't think they can survive another getting down another 10 points as they did in the OKC Game 7 when they were down by 14 early on. I believe they really got to stop that. So much momentum on Cleveland's side. But again, just to bring this one point up, just two games ago, quite a few of us on the show will say, boy, this one's done in 5 because Golden State looked unbelievable. Here comes Cleveland winning 2 games, and while it is historical to come back 3-1, both teams have done it here in the playoffs now in succeeding series. So I don't think we should write off Golden State. I know that we're not doing that, but I don't think we should kind of even worry too much about them as much as these last 2 losses have looked.
Right.
They are coming into Game 7.
But isn't it interesting, though, Mo, is how much the tables have turned? Because remember, last year's finals had no Kevin Love, no Kyrie Irving. Now the Warriors have to figure out ways to win without Bogut, and the Draymond Green suspension has actually played a real significant part in how these finals have ended.
100%.
And that's what I'm going to say. It's like going into Game 7, they're going to have this crew. They're going to be upset. They're going to be frustrated. They're going to be excited, whatever word we're going to use for it. And I think Golden State, in fact, is going to do really, really well here in Game 7.
Yeah, but why didn't that happen in Game 6?
It could be a variety of things we said in the first quarter. It could be poor officiating. It could be the loss of Andy Bogut, Gino, and struggling to kind of adjust to that. It could be Andre Iguodala and his back injury. I mean, there are things that we can point as excuses to why Golden State looked pretty bad tonight. But it resets for Game 7 at home where they've been on
0-0. There's nothing else now. It's like the entire NBA season comes down to the next 48 minutes, which is the single most exciting place to be if you're a fan of basketball, regardless of which team you support, because this is ultimately what we really wanted, isn't it? I didn't want to sweep. I know I said it'd be over in 5, but to know that it's going to 7, to know that LeBron could either bring a title to Cleveland or that Steph Curry could basically redeem himself entirely and go back-to-back and take his place amongst, the Pantheon teams. I think this is freaking awesome.
It is awesome.
I hope you guys share my enthusiasm.
This finals in the first 2 games, we were like, wow, this is going to be such a boring NBA finals.
Especially with the rest of the playoffs leading up to this.
And all of a sudden, here we are, game number 7. I mean, I don't think just the storylines, both storylines are so compelling, and I think that they're just great no matter which. If you're a non-fan of both teams, you still will appreciate the storylines that Game 7 presents.
Right, and isn't it almost in some ways tragic that one city has to deal with this all summer now? Or essentially, if you're Cleveland, the continuation of the curse, whatever that may be, however you want to frame it.
I feel more bad for Cleveland if they lose this. San Francisco will survive. They're a beautiful city. They got the Giants doing well this year again. I mean, they're going to be fine.
They've won Oakland's not that beautiful.
Yeah, that's San Francisco. Come on. It used to be Oakland when they sucked. Now when they're good, all the rich dudes in San Francisco are in there.
That's how it works.
Game 7 tickets, $25,000.
That's how much they were for the OKC ones.
That's insane.
So, from what I understand, Gino, you're going to spot us a couple of tickets. Is this...
Nice, Gino. Thank you.
Thank you, Gino.
Let's just ask for credentials.
All right, Mo. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, this is how stressed I am. Usually, when I'm on the game, when I'm on this show, I'm playing with my mitt and my baseball. Tonight, Chris, tell him I've been flipping a freaking
knife, and he's
military knife here.
He's giving me the evil eye.
I'm pointing it at Chris.
He actually looks very angry tonight over this Steph loss.
Absolutely,
the
Brad.
Steph ejection.
I put out my big knife tonight, the one that you know about. Yeah, it's usually a baseball in the mitt. It's a fucking knife tonight.
Quarter's over, but I almost sent you an email, Chris, saying, can you live tweet Mo's reactions in the fourth quarter? Because I figured that might be worth
if Mo
documenting.
read enough of my tweets tonight, he would be even more angry with me.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have the fourth quarter of the Full Court Report. Don't go away.
Rio 2016, August 5 to 21. Exclusive on TV5, your Philippine Olympic network.
All right, welcome back to the Full Court Report. It's fourth quarter, and I'll take the point guard duties for this one. 12 minutes on the clock.
Oh, Mo, you might
Yeah.
want to put up a quick disclaimer saying that you'll be ejected with 3 minutes to go.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I think I will. And, of course, the reason why we reference this is a big thing happened in the game tonight. Aside from, let's, of course, give credit where it's due that the Cavaliers won, pushing into a Game 7. LeBron was fantastic. Is that Steph Curry got ejected, fouled out, ejected, threw his mouthpiece, hit a fan, all of that stuff together with it. Then his wife jumps in on Twitter and says something super aggressive and
not reactionary
libelous
at all.
Perhaps.
I wouldn't even say aggressive. That's just, insane.
Yeah,
Insanity.
she probably went as nuts as Steph, maybe even more on Twitter. And let's talk about all of this. Let's start
First of all, Mo, are
Yeah.
we sure that Steph didn't have her phone?
I doubt it. No, because she's been this way throughout the playoffs.
She's been aggressive before.
Maybe Steph said, I got to blow off some steam. Let me use your phone. I got to call a friend, and then just went bang, 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 bang on Twitter, and here we are.
Remember the OKC series when they went down 3-1? She was mouthing
That's
off.
true. That's true. No, she does have a history of basically defending her husband.
She needs to know her role.
She's having a hard time dealing with the losses. I mean, it's really new to her. But before we get to Aisha, because I still want to kind of focus on Steph and then transfer to Mrs. Curry, is what kind of discipline are we going to see here from Steph? Is it, from the NBA towards Steph? Is it going to be a fine?
Fine.
Is
So,
it
a fine, and
is it
that's
going to be
it.
a suspension?
2002.
Zero is no.
2002.
Zero is wild. That's
fine, and that's
of
it.
course not.
Zero
Of
repercussions.
course not.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine, and that's it.
Yeah, there'll be a fine, and you know what?
Minimum
It'll be a tiny fine.
No,
Like
no.
$5,000.
Here's a precedent, guys. 2012, Amir Johnson threw his mouth guard and was suspended 1 game.
Yeah,
Doesn't
and
matter.
here's another one.
You know why it doesn't matter? Because Amir Johnson was A.
Sure, you're right.
Amir Johnson,
And
B.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he was,
That's
and
my-
he was
and that's
not
my-
the
that's my
two-time
point.
MVP.
Yeah.
And
That's my point.
The NBA will not dare for even
No
a
way.
second
No way.
entertain
Not
the
a second.
idea
No
of
way.
sitting the MVP in Game 7 at home.
No
If
way.
they do that, if they somehow find the courage to enforce their own rules and suspend Steph Curry, which of course they're not going to do, credit to them. Absolute credit to
They're
them.
not
Because
going to do it.
Okay, here we
They're
go.
not gonna do it.
They're
Listen.
not gonna do
If
it.
But they
there's a
should.
rule,
They
if there's a
should.
rule there that says
It's
touching a fan, I don't know what the rules are. So again, forgive me, but I'm sure there are rules out there, and we might not have it in front of us right now.
Mo, you can best bet that between now and Game 7, every Cleveland fan will be going through the NBA rulebook, going through the CBA, and citing every single problem that they have with the sort of mouth guard throw, and they'll be emailing the NBA head office, like you would your local politician, and they will be trying and campaigning to
I
get
get it,
Steph Curry
and
kicked
and
out.
if
That's
it
Cleveland fans.
clearly
But-
says in the rule book that you can't do what Steph did and get away with it in terms of zero suspension, then I want Steph Curry suspended
That would
for
be a
Game 7.
travesty, though.
Yeah, you
Right,
don't-
it would be a travesty, but again, we're talking about integrity here, and then we're going to go into our next kind of conversation shortly about the integrity of these rules and of this league. If you throw anything and it hits a fan, that's pretty much assaulting a fan, and that warrants a suspension. I'm okay with Steph getting suspended for Game number 7.
That's crazy. Though. But
It is crazy, but
Curry,
you can't show
Right, but it's
special
deserving.
treatment
It's
to the
deserving.
MVP.
True. I mean, Udonis
You can't do
Haslem.
that.
That's what they do,
Udonis
though. That's what they
Haslem
do.
was
It's what they
was
do, and that's-
suspended
and
for the
that's
exact
awful.
same thing, but his mouthpiece actually hit Joey Crawford, a referee. I think hitting a fan.
I think hitting
a fan
a fan's worse.
Yeah,
I
but
think
but
hitting a fan is worse as well.
but you saw in the
Yeah,
video,
actually,
if you
wanna
watch
talk
the
about
video,
NBA,
he actually reached out to the fan, and they were shaking hands, and he did apologize right away as soon
After
as
the
he-
fact.
after the
After
fact.
the fact.
But I think
Steph has apologized tonight.
I think if
Doesn't
the
mean
NBA is going to do something about it, they're going to look at the fact that he went up to the fan and they were talking it out and they shook hands and everything. And
No, Gino.
use that as an
Actually, what
excuse.
you're doing, Gino, is you're actually playing the NBA's defense here. The NBA will use that as
Oh, yeah.
justification,
It's
not to
not-
suspend
No,
him.
that's what Gino's saying.
That's exactly
no,
what I'm saying.
That's exactly what
Right.
Gino's saying. Is they're gonna use
they're
that
gonna
to
They're
use
gonna
that.
hide
spin.
behind that. They're gonna hide
Of course.
behind
Of course they're going to use
Of
it.
course. But again,
Yeah, which-
listen. As much as I want to see Steph there in Game 7, and I want whoever wins, that game on Sunday, I believe, to win it with a full squad. Dude, you can't bend the rules. You can't bend the rules for MVPs.
No, but Mo,
if Steph is
Mo,
supposed to be suspended, I want him.
It's a superstar league. The entire season has been
horseshit.
built on
But it
one
is contact with a fan. It
It's
is contact with a
horseshit.
fan. Technically, it's contact with a fan. And if but you go by the letter of the law, if that's what it says in the rule books, he should lose the game, and it would be a travesty to Game 7 in the NBA Finals.
And it will teach every other guy who might get a little bratty or MVP-ish or whatever the hell he thinks that you can't do things like that.
Yeah, that was a little bratty. Definitely a bratty.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Do you think we're going to have a whole generation of kids now who love Steph Curry going at, basically...
they're already wearing the mouthpiece.
Well,
they're already wearing the mouthpiece because of him. Now they're going to just be
I
chucking
knew
all
that
over
goddamn mouthpiece was going to get him in trouble every time he's been biting it all these years.
I'm surprised he didn't throw it at LeBron when LeBron talked him down after that block. That was aggressive too.
So anyway, back to it. In all
That
seriousness,
actually, Chris, just to focus on that point, that deserved a tech foul because everything we've seen about
It
taunting,
absolutely did.
that was gross.
Absolutely.
That was actually gross.
Wasn't it great
I
to
know
watch
the
though?
problem was that because LeBron had his
amazing.
back,
I love
he had his back turned to the refs. They didn't see it.
How great was it
We
though,
all
guys?
saw it.
As
but
a
it was-
fan, you had to love it.
Yeah,
though.
no, it was great.
aggressive.
Yeah, it was great.
It was
But-
genuinely the sort of thing Michael Jordan would do whenever he dunked on someone or whenever he showed
100%.
someone up. He'd say, "Yeah, you think you're the MVP of this league? Well, watch
That was
this."
fun.
And it was
That was
just
fun.
so fitting to see LeBron do it. And for the first time, I think we saw whatever's in LeBron's head, we saw it actually manifest physically tonight, whether it was commanding at both ends, playing defense, offense, whatever. But then, that I think the epitome of who LeBron is in the NBA right now was encapsulated by the way that he blocked Steph's soft little layup and then basically just jawed with him for the next sort of 15 seconds.
Sure. All right, let's move because we're running out of time here. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Ayesha Curry, man, was she on fire? She probably should share some of that fire with her husband. She tweeted out right after the game, "I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money."
What?
Which is the key phrase there. Or ratings. I'm
Actually,
not sure which.
First of all,
I won't
the
be
NBA is
silent,
rigged
saw
for
it
money.
live.
Of course, the NBA is rigged for money. That's why we have $1 billion TV deal. Of course, it's rigged for money. That's why superstars get the calls they do. The NBA realized back 30 years ago that it's rigged for money. Who thinks it's not rigged for money?
Right. But the thing is, it does hurt. It completely hurts the product. That's why there's a lot of talk regarding things like the draft, right? The lottery, things like that, where historically we've seen.
Well, the fact that the referees gave Shaq and the Kobe Lakers more calls in their game 6 and 7 against the Kings or Portland. I get the understanding that the conspiracy is the NBA always tries to get the big market teams into the most glamorous situations because it helps their bottom line. And that's true, but only to an extent. I mean, the NBA is always going to try to break things in a favor of ultimately what's going to make them money. But remember, these are 30 independent owners who profit from this thing as much as the NBA does.
So can I ask you? Right. Okay, no, I get it. Sorry, the reason I want to cut you off is I want to ask the process then. Okay, so let's say it's rigged. Let's say Ayesha's right. You're right that it is rigged. That even if Steph is
rigged,
in fact...
I say it's rigged, but not in the way she says. I think it's a different kind
she said
of
rigged for money. You said rigged for money.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying rigged in the macro sense. I think the NBA as a product of entertainment is always going to favor its superstars.
All right. Fair enough. So guess who's the biggest superstar? Steph Curry. Right. Guess what happened? He got dicked in this call. So does the priority of having a Game 7 trump everything in terms of favorable calls? Because, come on, clearly Steph did not foul LeBron there. Or if he did, my God, you don't call that in an elimination game in the NBA Finals. Sure. Either way. And you know, it's just ridiculous, right? Now, is he being the MVP just all of a sudden not that big of an issue and Game 7 trumps everything?
Well, because the NBA is going to make money off Curry no matter which way this breaks, right? Like, if you get the fan base in Golden State or the Warriors fans upset about a suspension, that's one thing. But globally, LeBron's the bigger name, and a Game 7 is going to be a bonanza for the NBA globally. So the NBA is going to profit from a Game 7 more than they will be hurt by Steph not being there.
And the referees
know
this and implement this?
But the problem here is... Here's the problem, though. And this is where I'll differentiate between the NBA's agenda, which is money, and the actual in-game play, which the NBA has no control over. The NBA does not actually tell the referee to call certain things at certain times of the games. The referees operate independently of the NBA agenda. The NBA always wants to maximize its money because it's in the business of making money. But the referees call the game as they see fit, and they get briefed and scrutinized. If the NBA declares players that these referees called a bad game, they actually get demoted. They don't get to call the next game, and it hurts their paycheck.
So where's the rigged again? Where's the favorable calls?
What I'm saying is, it's rigged in that the NBA is always pushing for Game 7, always. But if it breaks so that there isn't a Game 7, the NBA trusts its product that the longevity of it's going to retain its upward slope.
Why are we fans of this fucking game then?
Seriously, so
because
Brad,
we love the game as a sport. We love the idea of competition.
It's not a game anymore. It is now rigged. It's not.
It's become the
it's
become professional.
It's not a game when it's rigged, my friend.
So Brad, you're saying in the back of the ref's mind
Absolutely,
today.
yeah,
You're saying the back of the ref's mind today. They knew that they had to make calls a certain way to kind of enforce against the force of Game 7. That's what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is
So I don't understand what you're saying.
NBA. Well, okay, so what I'm saying is the way I've always understood it is the NBA will always try its best, and that's why it favors superstars, because it wants the best product on the court for as long as it can possibly have it there. But in game, when it comes to the actual play-by-play, moment by moment, because no one can predict the future, and because all these things operate independently, the NBA doesn't tell the referees, don't call Steph or call more on Steph. What they say is, keep an eye out for what happens with these players early on so that we can at least give them a chance to be there at the end. The NBA doesn't tell the referee what to do, but what the NBA does do is that it disciplines its referees if it calls a poorly officiated game. So the NBA reacts.
What happens if it pushes a superstar into a Game 7? Are they going to demote them for that? You're kind of saying unless it helps out the revenues of the league, then they won't do that.
No, but I'm saying the NBA knows it's going to make the revenue no matter what because of the way it's set up
not a Game 7.
as a business. No, it's made revenue already. I mean, you look at the way the game
they'll make
and
more
the way
with
the
one more
series
game.
Unfolded.
LeBron
they will.
versus Steph, Game 7.
Right. Of course, it's going to make more money, which is why the NBA now, knowing all that it knows, knowing what's at stake, the NBA will most likely, to protect its brand, not suspend. Steph Curry,
that I agree with. That I agree with. They're not, even if it's a letter of the law, they're not going to suspend them.
Listen, I think ejecting Steph Curry with 4 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter of this game, which was not completely out of reach, is something that they should get reprimanded for. Remember, Steph was giving a mouthful to that. Well, wait, listen. Steph was giving a mouthful to that ref. I think his name is Phillips, Jason Phillips, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He was giving him a mouthful prior to the ejection and then got called for a ticky-tack foul. So in my opinion, it looked like Phillips just was a little too frustrated. He was the emotional one. That then he goes and calls a horseshit foul on Steph. And which he knew in that moment would get Steph out of the game. So Steph was working the ref minutes before he called that puss foul, knowing that Steph was going to get knocked out in the fourth quarter of the NBA motherfucking finals.
As Mo says that he's wielding his knife.
Look. Okay, time's up. You can want to go to overtime if you want to get more of this discussion out, on the air.
No. Okay, here's what we're saying. Go.
Unlike the NFL, who seems to sort of pick on, like the NFL goes to war with one of its teams, right? We've seen that with the Patriots in the NFL, with the Brady sort of, commissioner of the NFL, all this back and forth, whatever, for past injustices, whatever. The NBA doesn't have a us versus them mentality. Silver and the operations at head office always want to represent the brand in the best light possible. Now, the referee making a call, maybe they'll review it and say, hey, that wasn't his sixth foul, you shouldn't have called it. But if you're talking about integrity, the integrity here is if a star player reaches at the end of the game, the referee actually has a prerogative to call it. This is on Steph for reaching, for putting himself in a position where the ref felt he had to
didn't see the reach. I didn't see the reach. There was no reach.
LeBron
didn't even have possession of the
ball. But the idea of integrity, actually, the idea of integrity is sort of a fallacy in some ways, because when it breaks in our favor or for the team we like, we think that it's a good thing. When it goes against us, we think all of a sudden the referees are out to get us.
But it didn't go against anybody. It went against. No, listen, a referee. At least this is again my opinion. Was being worked on by Steph. We don't know what Steph said. I'm sure he was not very happy. No. And then in the moment that he can do something about it, he went ahead, called a foul that clearly wasn't a foul, that kicked the guy out of the game in the fourth quarter with plenty of time left.
Look, we've got to go. Quick timeout. The sixth foul and the ejection are actually two separate issues here. Now, he got called for his sixth, then overreacted.
No, Brad, we're wasting time. No, we're not going to address that. We're wasting time. I'm talking about removing the guy from the game. I don't give a fuck if it's ejection or I don't care if it's you foul out. Doesn't matter. Your MVP's out of the game.
Sure, but the NBA will probably, most likely, and I'm going to bet on this, saying that the NBA will say the ejection was probably uncalled for, or the ejection or the sixth foul. One of them was an overreaction, and therefore Steph's not suspended. So I would be, and like I said, 0% chance the NBA suspends Steph for Game 7. 0. And I will sit out the next show if that's the case. Me and Steph will both be suspended for the next show.
Well, we don't want that. That's not going to happen.
The fans are going to revolt.
That's not going to happen.
All right, quickly, we got to get out of here. Predictions, Game 7, go. What do you guys got? This is it, man.
We're
here.
I got dubs.
Dubs, I don't know, by how many?
Dubs by 7.
Gotcha. Gino.
No, it's got to be double figures, Chris. Every other game has been.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough. Gino, what do you got?
Well, before the series started, I called Cavs, so I'm sticking with the Cavs.
Wow.
Cavs by 8.
Ooh, on the road. I love it. I love it. That's ballsy.
If that happens, I'm sitting out this show. Now, Brad, what do you got?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Warriors, but in overtime.
Ooh.
That would be phenomenal.
I would love that.
Here's what I think. I think we're all going to go ahead and see the Warriors defeat, as I said from the beginning when we predicted this thing, Warriors in 7. I think it's going to be close to the end. And then after that, we're all going to go watch Game of Thrones and see Jon Snow bring it to Ramsay Bolton.
I have no idea what you just said.
That's happening tonight, isn't it?
No, that's next week. That's on Sunday.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Hey, Mo, speaking of Game of Thrones, wake me up when they stop walking in circles.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I know it's a weak season. Just enjoy it. But hey, speaking of seasons, this has been a strong one, and it'll be our final episode for this season on Sunday. So please do join us. We're going to wrap up the entire NBA season, not just the finals. It'll be a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. I finally got to meet Chris here.
This is the first time you guys met each other, yeah?
Yeah, this is the first time we met each other.
And he's scaring the crap out of me tonight.
Yeah, I got a knife
and I never get scared.
And, I got my dog.
I like the fact that
the
guy who's actually tried to bite someone's ear off is actually the victim.
Dude,
here.
if you were sitting 5 feet away from him tonight, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. Just wait till we get to Game 7. Oh, you won't be here in Game 7. But darn it. All right. But anyway, listen. Do join us for our final episode. Let's all enjoy Game 7 of the NBA Finals. We wanted this. We got it. It's going to be great. It's good. It's good. It's good for us. It's good for the show that we imagined in our first season. We got a Game 7 with two of the biggest stars in the NBA.
Please don't suspend Steph Curry. I want a Game 7.
Please don't.
Suspend them. So if the Warriors lose, I have an excuse.
Good point. Good point.
You see that? Yeah, I love it. All right, guys, round the room quickly with the social media accounts. Let's get the hell out of here. Gino, what's up?
I'll be doing our next episode from Amsterdam. So if anybody in Amsterdam knows whether they're showing the NBA Finals in any TV and not the Euro 2016 football tournament, please let me know because I'm going to need to know exactly where to watch it. But it's on Twitter and on Instagram. It's at Ginorufino, JINNORUFINO.
Awesome. Brad?
I was going to make a couple of getting high in Amsterdam jokes there, but I won't. So you can follow me on Twitter at @BackpackBaller. I will be watching Game 7 sober, unlike maybe possibly another member of this hosting team.
The ones in Vegas?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Chris, on my left, what do you got?
Not Bill Walton, and use hashtag by Aisha to let Aisha Curry know how you feel. It's trended tonight. We got it to trend.
Fair enough. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DJ Mo Twister. Again, see you Sunday right after Game 7 of the NBA Finals. It'll be a great episode for us. So this has been the Full Court Report. I want to thank our team, staff, all you guys. We appreciate you. See you guys on Sunday. Bye, everybody.